That they do. That they do. One more sip. One more sip. And with that being the case, we are comfortably past hard start. We are gathered once more here in this great and auspicious sidestep from reality to dive into the world, lives, and existences of these characters. And while it goes without saying, I'm going to say it anyway. Thank you all very much for being here. And this is officially Soup City Sins, Sheltered or Sane, Season 2, Episode 6, Water's a Queen's Garden. We have traversed and travailed with these characters, with this coterie, a very long time. 6 episodes to be exact, plus the first season on top of that, plus the additional 19 that have led us to the here and now. These kindred in various states, in various stages, have experienced the full width and breadth of immortality. They have had the opportunities of mourning their lost, grieving their dead, finding hope to continue, and watching as everything either crumbled, burned, or exploded, only to keep moving forward. Aaron, having lived his life at the disposal of others, his sense of duty, his sense of drive and determination being the primary facet of his existence and death, continues those same tendencies with a most noble mission, a noble cause. He needs to believe in something, and that something, more times than not, has been simply complete the mission. We watch members come, go, fall, and rise through the efforts of their fractured unity, has reached the point where hope is not double-edged. Hope is a battering ram to the sense of self. And so she has all but laid that weapon against herself down and is attempting to focus on doing some lasting example of what, good, evil, or otherwise, has yet to be determined. But there is a drive to accomplish a thing, to keep true to the loyalties of her past and the faith of her alliances outside of her coterie. Yeah. Despite the Harlequin-esque jester mask that he wears, it is driven forth by forces beyond his measure, forces beyond his kenning, forces that he seeks in every way possible to ignore, to outrun, to outlast, to survive past, to reach a point where all of the troubles of his past don't exist and all of the paranoia of his future don't matter. So he's been honing and battening down the hatches, preparing mentally for tomorrow. It's a heady bit of hope and fear, frustrations more times than not. That brings us here to today, brings us here to tonight, brings this coterie of individuals closer to being a coterie of, well, united, focused, determined, wishing and striving towards some measure of better tonight, tomorrow. Do not let hope be the thing that weighs them down and sweeps them under. And yet, it very much is. Yet, it literally and figuratively lodestone around their necks. It has caused foibles, missteps. It has allowed some successes, but more times than not, it always comes down to hope, which does them in. So as we open up our third eye, take a look at the beauty that is Chicago glittering under a night sky. The stars winking back at all the sky rises and high rises, and the bungalows and two-family homes and the courtyard buildings and the hundreds of thousands of cars zooming left, right, forwards and back across the roadways. The bustling lives trundling from one bar to the next, from one job to the next, moving ever towards the goal of getting by, making the ends, if not meet, at least wave at each other. The hullabaloo of existence that dances there, that loud, clamoring whispers of voices combined and melding into one unintelligible song of the city. On the north side of Chicago, there's Theo, alone in the dark, slightly farther away, better lit, but no less in the dark. Theo, standing, staring at the painter of Chicago, Sophia Rossellini, his vials and tools sitting on a desk between them. She's standing, having begun pacing, offhandedly listing the various crimes and reasons for the causes of the drive that she has or had for the city and the failed opportunities, and her ranting passionately about why she is dispassionately uninvolved. Her way still, making her way south along Western Avenue, heading towards the non-contiguous south suburbs of Chicago, is Hestia, and yet another one of her obtained vehicles moving along the roadways. The hum of the vehicle pulls us out of where we are now individually, miles apart, different states, time zones, and the real world. We close in, and even as it doesn't need to be said, it will. What do?
Oh. Hess is looking at her passenger seat to make sure that the gift that she is bringing to the prince is secure and not tipped over, because it's kind of a fragile bit of thing, and um, is making sure she hasn't forgotten her way there.
Looking at her passenger seat and the gift that she's picked out, she can see him sitting there, his skin reflecting the yellowed light of the street lamps overhead as you pass, flickering the shadows dancing into the car. and you can hear his voice, smooth as silk, spicy as cinnamon, and as sweet as summer's long night. Now, baby girl, what sense does it make heading out there by yourself? You are surrounded and behind enemy lines. You at least set up a contingency. You at least make sure that someone can make sure the plants is watered.
You always pick when I'm already in motion to do these things to me, sir. Why? I have to do something. I can't just sit by. Fucking, you know who I'm gonna say, but I'm not supposed to say his name. He's dodging me, that stupid motherfucker, and I don't know what else to do. I need some sort of leverage.
And how
You're
you gonna get
gone. I
leverage if
can't.
you truly, Emma? Is anyone ever really gone? Till you stop saying their name, you stop thinking about them, till you no longer have anything to learn from the time spent with them, are they ever really gone? Like now, only when you are busy and mindfully focused can you hear things, can you experience conversations already had long time gone by.
He just kind of frowns at him, which is something probably he would have been used to by then because of all the years they had together. And as many times as he said something to her, and she just kind of like, oh, I fucking hate you right now. Even though she couldn't hate him if she tried, but there's that balance of brother sister energy, but at the same time, potential lover energy that they had going on, and it hasn't gone away, even with him being dead, technically. So, her sitting there, she's kind of like, okay, so what the fuck do you think I'm supposed to do? Like, you know what? I'm gonna pull over right now. So she pulls over, and she's like, okay, so what if you were in my situation? You know what the fuck I'm going through. What would you do, Mister
Well,
Smarty
first off,
Pants?
well, first off, I wouldn't be in your situation. You have at your disposal another slithering snake for the second time go round. You have at your disposal for the second time a sly and stealthy assassin, a vizier, a member of those dread Saracens at your disposal. You have once more a dragon. You might do as you gifts without them knowing that's what you're driving at. Take the reins, the horse gonna run off with you.
In true fashion, she pouts. Very much, she's not a child. She is child statured at times, but she's not a child. But right now, yeah, it's that. I hate when you're right. And granted, yes, you wouldn't be in this situation, but at the same time, we had a fucking traitor in our midst this whole time, and you didn't tell me. And don't say you didn't know, because you knew shit that I didn't know.
But didn't I tell
So,
you?
no. There was no,
Mm,
hey, Simone is
didn't I?
working
I got
for
you.
the enemy.
But was he working for anybody?
Yeah. You forget hold on, Castiglione
Was he?
thing?
And again, was he? Was he achieving Castiglione's goals? Was he helping him in any way? to sabotage you, mean that you make the patties. You could cook them, put them on the bun, but did you actually make the patty? Freeze it? Did you ship it? Or were you simply in the building when it appeared on a truck one day? Just because somebody ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing doesn't mean they're doing something against you. Speaking of which, he clears his throat, and a flash of headlights slaps you across the face. Those new halogen lamps that shine bright enough to cause damage to the corneas. And the G Wagon goes roaring past, the sound system causing the windows in your vehicle to rattle and rock. Whoop that trick! Whoop that trick! And that's the car, the vehicle, the moving rock concert leaves you in a moment of blinded, startled state. You realize you're sitting in your vehicle on the side of the road just south of Madison on Western, alone. Looking out the window, you see the usual nightlife. There's the couple of individuals scanning the ground before them as they rock and roll and beat, pop and lock down the sidewalk. There's the young lady gauging, sizing you up. Are you looking for company? There's the police cruiser easing by, taking in everyone, letting their presence be known. And as expected, there are the few corner boys who happen to be making their way to go grab something to eat, who sees the blue and white rolling down the block and take off running the other way. There's the pay-to-use scooters that you've seen cropping up all over the city, and the pay-to-use bikes, the divvies that people keep endlessly. All you need is a gift card with enough to rent it and then not bother to return it. You can disable the GPS, and you've seen quite a few people do exactly that, so that they can keep the bike and use it as their own, endlessly, immortally. The city, much like America, eats its own, devours its young, it drains them of their energy. But the old, the middle-aged, inoculated against such loss, the survivors, the hardened, willing to do whatever it takes, continue right along as if all of the carnage around them is another average Tuesday. Aaron, Theo, what do?
Um, so I believe the prompt given to me is, in our DMs is where I'm starting at. Stands my response.
Yes.
All right. Um, so seeing her go through this very seemingly heartfelt, almost dismissal of the coterie for their stagnance, the almost fetid, rotting nature of how still and indecisive they are. He'll just give a calm nod of his head and an understanding, um, in something of a quiet agreement before just, for the most part, honestly, I agree with you. They are, I would say, naive in assuming the world will stand still just because they do. And assuming that they won't get stabbed just because they don't stab. It honestly makes me sad sometimes when I think about it. Especially the pacifist. I think, and she knows that I'm not exactly a fan of hers, but I think that she does more damage to that coterie than any of the innumerable people that they have pissed off and let off the line. But, he says, kind of standing up from his chair and packing away his tools, I do have a job. I do have goals, and I do have a path forward, even if it seems kind of just moves his head left and right, trying to figure out the word. Dumb to you. Unfortunately, for however much I may be tempted by your offer, I'm unable to accept it at this time.
Why?
Because I can't simply abandon a mission halfway through.
So you lack practical intelligence to achieve both. You lack the boots on the ground understanding of your brevet promotion. Right now, sitting here in front of you, presenting you with more tools, more largesse and leeway to accomplish your goals. And you've not even asked me what my actual goal is. And I've told you. You can't see how those two things work together.
No, I can see how they work together. It's just your pitch had a few flaws in it. You presented it as if I would have to move away from my other interests,
You
specifically the
don't,
coterie.
you will eventually move away. They have existed in this city for over, very nearly 100 years. How many members do you think have used them as a springboard before they gained their acclaim and after to achieve their goals? You will not have the opportunity of being all that you can be as long as you shackle yourself to them. I came here to help them achieve one thing. I ended up doing it myself. I hoped for the best for them and had to watch as they wallowed. And they broke apart like the Beatles, like they were some old band. I watched, waited, and I broke my own rule and hoped for them. What do I get for the hope for them? What do I get for allowing them the time to dig themselves out? What do I get for being their biggest supporter? I don't ask for anything from them. I don't demand anything from them. I don't stand in their way at all. And what do I get from it? They side with my enemy. You side with my enemy. Who do you think is sponsoring Deltonus? Who is in fact sponsoring both the cult of Helena and the Menelaeans? My not
Yo,
deposing them, by not taking the full power from them, my greatest enemy gains strength. By not destroying them, my mother, through Deltonus, is staging a coup. It won't be long until those cults have enough followers to force Stryker from the Harpy seat. Deltonas will ensconce himself there. Sofoa is of no threat whatsoever, but as long as the blood trade is unmolested, Karen doesn't have the support of the bulk of notable Toreador. And Annabelle was a young maiden when Deltonas cut his teeth on political machinations. He will usurp the Toreador, which means he will usurp Malkavians, and soon the outnumbered and foolish as they are, the Brujas slowly, quickly behind the falling of them. And once the Bruja go, of course, there too go the Nosferatu, outnumbering Prince Jackson and his stupid little seneschal. And if they go, when they go, so too falls the Tremere, which is all fine and good for you, Banu, without the Tremere keeping the spirits appeased. I will be too busy managing it to assure the Banu are not swept from the board completely, leaving nothing but the gangrel, the caitiff, and those malicious Lasombra to sweep through everyone. His plan is revenge against everyone who stood by watching his childer be decapitated at Elysium. He is using chaos 2 steps removed and unprovable by anyone, including myself. And when he's done, there won't be any of these idiots left. And the only coterie that might stop him, that might depose him, that might offer something akin to resistance, doing nothing.
Kind of, after he packs away the leather wrap on his scalpel into his jacket pocket, reaches up, scratches the back of his head, and lets out a sigh. Look, I'm not particularly good at putting words together and all that shit, but I'm not unwilling to work with you. So long as it doesn't drag me away from my current objective, more than happy to help. Hell, killing half of these fucks honestly seems like a net positive to the world anyways. I was just not on board with the notion of immediately being sequestered.
You already?
You've been, for the most part, yes. But in the ways that it matters to my current objective, no.
Yes, you are. You're here in Chicago. Your objective is Mr. Alexander Hunt, the right hand to Claire Tiffany, the leader of the cult of Helena, the third axis of Deltonis' plan to sweep the board. And where are they right now?
Sad to say, I can't exactly tell you.
That's humorous, because I can tell you. They are right now in the Elysium of the Anarch Baron Joshua Tarnopolsky. They are right this second laughing at how successful they are, mourning their dead and planning their next return to the city to play havoc with the laughable enforcement of the traditions.
Nods and, well, thank you for the information. Though, what exactly is it you want me to do? I'm happy to do the dancing around in colorful flavor text words, but I got a job.
Which you're failing at.
No, thanks to your little tidbit of information, I'm doing exceedingly well.
You're a known agent of the bottom kid. You won't get within 10 miles of their Anarch Elysium without being put down. There are a few pieces that you lack, namely its actual location, support to allow you access, and several others, but that's a more than fair start. You enjoy your evening, Mr. Wright. Hopefully you don't get your just desserts.
I am incredibly fucking confused right now. You wanted my help, and I have offered 3 times now to give it.
Have you? You have a job to do, you stated.
Yes, because I don't like dragging things out longer. It's politicians and entertainment industries that make 100 words where 1 will do.
That is cute. Are we having our first fight?
I honestly don't know at this point. First, you make me a job offer. I turn it down because of a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding is cleared up, and yet there seems to be another one born in its place.
Yes. Nothing easy is worth having. And I'm definitely worth having. Though, not by you. You're a little less. Er, um, go make your goodbyes. If you really want this, if you really want to achieve your goal, I'm the path through which you can do so. But I can't have you distracted. You can't afford to be distracted. Because while you think that death is the worst thing that can happen, I know that your final death will not be the worst thing for you. The worst thing for you will be your lack of agency and control as to what happens after. And without me, I can assure you, you will as a throw pillow in the halls of the dead and damned. It's your lack of belief and faith and your connections to the shelter. Go say your goodbyes, and I'll leave word here for where you can meet me, if that is your goal to be successful. If that is not your goal to be successful, then it has been a pleasure bandying words with you and putting on theater.
Just kind of takes his head scratching posture, gives a kind of weary shake of his head, and waves off as he turns. We'll talk again in the future, I guess. Making a somewhat subtle gesture of leaving the vial there on the table as he, I guess, exits out into the night with a muttered, "Can't ever just be direct, these people."
You have direct. Lost though you are behind all of the lines of safety, Theo, hearing the squeak grow closer and farther away and seemingly close enough to touch but too far to catch, perforated as you are, making your way through the dark of the shelter's haven. What do?
Theo is going to be very brief, very succinct. He's going to make his way back to the point of where he can most accurately remember trap starting. Once he gets past that point, he's going to open up and go into a full sprint to get back to the haven, even going so far as to try to go to unseen passage, hoping that those animals won't track him by smell.
No, there's nothing completely
Because he's
heady
still
and
leaking.
intoxicating about Pate.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing intoxicating
Yes,
about the idea of eternal youth and strength and power that comes with Kendra Pate once you've sampled it. Completely, unparalleledly. To be so kind, to roll your wits plus survival. Your DC is standard 3.
All right. Survival. What is our hunger at? Because if I remember correctly, we had time down and actually fed since last week. Storyteller?
Oh, independent mute. So when you get to the portion of the syntax after your backslash, when it says hunger, use current, it'll make it.
I just type in current.
Yeah, when you're using the bot, correct?
Yeah, it tells me 0 for mortals, and then
Yeah,
a
that's the one.
numerical drop down.
No, use that one because it'll use your current, whichever one it is.
So do I just tab and go to 3 for difficulty?
Yes.
Error, because I don't think it. Oh, wait, hold on. Tell it to go to Eugene. Theo. Okay. It used Theo.
Kindred don't fear much. Fire, sunlight, large crowds of people, other kindred, childhood traumas, handling dirty money, communicable diseases, car explosions, plane crashes, falling off high rises. They don't fear much, basically. So, the fact that your hairs are standing on end, not just one, but all of them over your forearms at the base of your neck, is telling. It's telling as to how dangerous the dark, i.e., the world that you have inhabited for these last few years and last few months, are alone. Owning that moment and thanking your stars and garters and all the things in between that you make it back to the well-lit, well-apportioned spaces, shelter. It's the pulse-pounding headache of knowing that you were in fact prey settles and dissipates. Your new firearm still there in its holster on your hip. What do, Theo? What do indeed?
Right. Best understanding, I'm gonna assume that Hestia, Aaron are not at the Haven currently, right?
I mean, I'm heading there, but depending on the timeline, no, I'm not there.
No, not as of yet.
Okay. I'm gonna quickly. He's going to quickly bandage or find a way to stop his bleeding, even if it's so far to lick the wound, just so that he can stop bleeding because he don't want any more damn rats coming after him. So whatever needs to do to stop that, he's gonna take a moment, go back towards his go back towards his desktop. See if it. Take a quick glance at the cameras. Make sure that they're all there. I'm gonna write two notes. One going to be addressed to Hestia. One going to be addressed to Aaron. And he's going to list on both of those. Really important, something that you guys need to talk to me about. Come see me, and if need be, uh, contact me. I'm going to go set up more cameras. With that being done, he's going to deliver both letters to their specific rooms that they mostly inhabit. Hestia in her office, him in his room, whichever room he chose, and then he's gonna grab a couple of cameras and set them so that he can widen his sphere of influence among those among where he can eyeball the comings and goings of people in our in the shelter and in the area that we control.
Oh my, you want to see people coming, do you?
Yes, that is what he lives for.
So you are attempting to close the distance of the cameras that you already placed, or are you attempting to purchase, find, and install an additional ring closer to the shelter itself?
As of right now, it should be a relatively uh, I it should be a relatively close net around the shelter. So I'm trying to extend the range, at least, even if I have to reroute it and have them use more wireless. But I'm trying to at least give us a 2 block radius of an eye in the sky
He's not
that I
closing
can
it in.
see the
He's
coming and going,
expanding it.
expanding it.
And to be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus technology DC 4 as you're composing your note, checking the wireless signal from the cameras you've already placed up at that range around the domain of the shelter.
And if I'm patching into the wireless network that's outgoing, the free flowing ones, like the ones that you connect to when you're on cell towers or on like Xfinity, and I use that as well and add my specialty of white hat hacking.
Yes, yes, you can. Roll as high as you possibly can.
This man just put all our security
And you said
details on
DC
Bluetooth.
4?
Yes, you can, but yeah, starting at DC 4.
All right.
Yay! I'm gonna go ahead and click that little mark WP use. Grazie, grazie. And once you do that, there are certain ranges of things that are sheer 100% absolutely impossible. There are certain things that get lost in translation and certain things that get swept into the rug. They get ignored. Because of ease of use and hope for the best. Hope that potent, virulent poison. In Theo's hope and paranoia and giving in and trusting in the idea that hope would not let him down. He soared his skill at mapping a ring around the shelter, the domain at large, far enough out to have clear lines of sight and catch anything that is setting it so that it catches anything even remotely beneath the average body temperature. Didn't build these cameras from scratch. The fact that he was able to purchase something ready to use just for that purpose. Thermal activated motion sensing cameras that were ready to go and easily set to target bodies cooler than the human average. As he looks at the cameras, as he's composing his letter, as he's accessing the quote unquote hidden, though public access wireless information network. There are certain protocols that if he was hacking into a system, if he's hacking into another system, much like he did, if he was doing it maliciously, if he was doing it for some detrimental outcome, he would have immediately caught hope blinded him. Counting on the good stole his wiliness. The ease of obtaining the cameras, moving in his favor, swept the legs out from underneath him. Unlike Johnny Lawrence, he didn't refuse when Kreese said sweep the leg. He targeted the leg and went for it. He dived in, both feet blazing. And as he sits there and realizes that he's not alone in the net, as he realizes that his dialing in, his jacking into the system is just one amongst several that have done so. As he quirks an eyebrow and frowns at the screen, he backtracks his activity in the network and his viewing the security logs. He realizes that several are missing because they've been deleted. He realizes that there's a skeleton key access to all of these cameras that he didn't realize was there because it's part of the hardware. He's not the only person with eyes into his network of cameras. He's not the only person with access to cameras designed to detect cooler than human temperatures on bipedal entities and record. The realization is like jumping into a frozen lake mid-January. You saw the hole, make sure that the ice was stable enough to walk on, and then you dive in, and then the hole freezes back over your head before you even had a chance to swim back up. Between the ice and the water, there's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of actual oxygen trapped when the lake froze and the gas is released. But trapped under the ice, the cold seeping into the very particles of his being, he realizes what he's done. All those rumors and myths about the Second Inquisition, understanding there's a movement, several passionate and determined governmental agencies is what it actually is. Governmental agencies who are slow to move, but quick to act. Several governmental awarenesses beyond the agencies. The second and third man down the totem pole. The fourth and fifth squad team leader. The 6th and 16th person in a chain of command who are able to pass messages backwards and forwards. And invisible an active network of humans who are aware that things in the dark aren't always human, hiding their activities as a mole hunt or a terrorist action or a investigation into corruption. And as he hacks the network and looks at his cameras, he composes his letter. Great model of the Hindenburg, filled with the most combustive and explosive gases imaginable. Theo realizes what's at stake and what he's done. The letter only had composed the truth sitting there in the invisible things that should be visible to him in the security logs of his network of cameras.
Okay, question. Looking at putting on his his IT hat, his administrator hat. Obviously, someone's logging into the network who's not him. Someone's obviously deleting and adding things to the network that's not him. Is there any metadata or tags that he could use to find out who or what is hacking into the system? Because it definitely could be him, but he has to try to figure out how to lock them out without them knowing that they're locked out. Is there a way that he can essentially loop data that they can see, but keep the line clean so that he can see it? Did you get all that, or should I start over?
So in essence, Theo is attempting to hack the hardware, the cameras that he set up to remove the opportunity for the federal government to have access to a network that they built.
For Steve Jobs and Apple.
If he had those several billions of dollars in those several million years, make it happen. However, sitting in the dilapidated, repurposed shelter on a commercial network with a commercial brain box. While nothing is impossible, this is even harder than that. To strip the hardware embedded in the cameras that he utilized without letting the persons, the entities, the cybersecurity programs sponsored by CISA know that he's done so. The fact that he's being watched right this moment. Again, nothing is impossible. But this, the attempt, is setting off a firecracker inside the can of beans that you are using to hold your wedding, expecting it to exit in the same shape that you put it in there with.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Is there a way, using using what he has at hand, storyteller and his hacking, is there a way for him to trace where that information is going to? Because obviously, if they're logging into my system, they have to have an IP address where they're logging in at. Is there a way for me to trace that information?
Hello?
To see whether or not it'll be better to just take the network, take it down, or to leave it up.
That is a, based on the information that you have, decision. Or you can probe, or you can search, you can hunt. Because that's what it is at this moment. You know that they exist. And you finding out they exist triggered them understanding and knowing that you know they exist.
You know that I know that you know that I know.
Much that. And a few more. Because it is, in fact, a system of systems. And while the access is in the actual hardware, it is in the device itself. The skill of those who are monitoring and watching or boredly actively engaging is another matter entirely. They were able to remove with their skeleton key access your access to knowing what they are and are not aware of. You can counter hack them. You can engage them in virtual technological fisticuffs. But unfortunately, just like in unsanctioned fights around the world, there are no weight classes, and you're not sure which opponent you're facing.
Okay. All right. So far, it gives us a okay, storyteller, from as the story is so far, how wide is the net that I have around this shelter?
You said it was at least 2 blocks out. Watching anything that would
No, I said I wanted to
break.
make sure it was 2 blocks out. So is it 2 blocks out now?
When you initiated it, it was 2 blocks out. You were a level behind where Aaron found an already existing network. And while your coterie believes that you are responsible for the already existing network, or at least some of them, you know that you weren't responsible for those few cameras of many that Aaron found.
Okay, good. Okay.
And you implanted a second ring.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm going to include telling both Aaron and Hester this is an emergency. Need to talk to them ASAP. Deliver that information and
Go trigger your cameras. Yay.
I am definitively not going to take down my cameras nor their cameras. I'm going to leave them all up right now. Okay. I'm gonna start hunting the cameras, not the ones that I put up, obviously, but the ones that they put up. Are
Who?
there any
Who is they?
inside they, them, the man?
I see. Well, as a great American poet once said, may the odds be ever in your favor. As you begin your hunt, and Hestia looks at the foot traffic around her, and Aaron becomes part of the foot traffic. It is 35 after the hour.
It wanted to try its hand at physics. So, I'm in the process of looking for a new one. But I ain't got no money, so I can't exactly fucking go afford some new shit.
Speaking of vehicles.
Huh?
Speaking of vehicles, everybody back?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
You back?
Yeah.
Is always good. So as Hestia is looking at the ecosystem of Western Avenue, just south of Madison, as the unavoidable realizations as to what she and the coterie have had access to, as she thinks back on their access to the ministry, their access 3 times over to the Banu Hakim, their access to the Nosferatu, the La Sombra, the Samich, and the Toreador, both directly through their interconnectivity of having members of those clans, as well as through their access to other notable members of the city, community, and society at large. And what have they wrought? What have they forced into being? What have they, as a whole, created as a lasting testament to their existence?
Having a rough time of it. She knows that Aaron has been correct. That with him saying, why did they let so many of these people that could potentially harm them live? But then she also knows why. It either there was too much stuff going on, or they had people dissenting amongst them and managing all these different personalities and people coming in and out of her life has been like spinning plates, and now they're starting to fall. So as she's sitting there in the car, just kind of realizing that if it had been a couple seconds earlier, she probably would have looked absolutely fucking insane talking to the passenger seat with nobody in it. Um, but that is her life. As it is. Something feels like she needs to go back to the shelter. She can put the lawyer shit on a shelf for now, but something feels wrong. And with the fact that Jay popped up and showed up to her, that's an even more a turnaround and go home. So she puts the car back in gear, loops herself back around, looking at the gift that she was going to take Malibu. That's a later thing, and heads back towards the shelter.
Thinking of Albu, thinking on the contiguous south suburb domain that is their growing empire, the fact that Coterie owes him a debt, We're out there right now. Vivi is living her best immortality, or worse, but she is still out there in the night, remembering how well he had plotted and planned to punish, like you would an unruly child, the shelter, and how you all overcame her, talked her off the ledge of following through on dropping several enemies, how you all actively engaged with a fifth column attack against your ally, the queen of the Bahari, Ursuli. Thinking of how Albu solidified and took control of all of those disparate, small, nothing, non-existent baronies out there in the wilds. Now you all owe him a debt. You all owe him a boon. There's nothing upstart, would-be, Transylvanian, Romanian, who came from nowhere and has been sitting there in the dark of the south suburbs, growing in strength, while the only thing that's grown for the shelter are the rumors, gossips of their actions. The myth of the shelter is a great tyrannical child having its way with kindred society. The myth of the shelter is this powerfully recalcitrant bully that decides to act by destroying the foundations of kindred society. Walter Nash. Alexa Santos, Jason Newberry, Rosa Hernandez, just to name a few. All without your agency. Not counting Urzuli, Ramrod, many others are out there in the dark that have fallen by the wayside, who have been swept under by the actions and inactions of the shelter. You are crossing North Avenue. Image of Aiden's smiling, chomping face. Who gave his life for you. And then there's Mercipules, who was out there somewhere in the south suburbs, his army of Dustborn. And then there's Zal, who isn't dead, wasn't faced final death, but is in a lessened position because Sophia is now the pater of the Chicago Hakadah instead of her. And then there's Simone, a lost aside, discarded. His betrayal is accidental or purposeful, now non-existent. The only thing left is, well, the fact that he unwillingly, without directing it, as a network of spies within the kink, pleasure, sex worker, and religious communities. You witness their fervor when you burned the temple of the cult element. Their fervor, their willingness to give their all plus more. The Arains killed twice. Ignacio, Mama Cass, Don Castiglione himself. The list goes on and on. You cross Hollywood and begin heading east. You see him again. You know, baby girl, you seem like you got a lot of things on your mind. You okay?
Seeing him again for the second time. This time, Hess, when she's in the car by herself, is like the only time she has any manner of quiet. I'm sorry. So that's the time when emotions hit and things hit, and she's thinking. So as he appears yet again for the second time tonight, she can't stop the tears that are hitting her upper lip. Like, they're just pouring, and she's trying to hold it together. And for the 5th or 6th time in as many months, she has to fight the urge to drive her car into a body of water and just be done with the shit. Because it's getting to be, again, so much. It's so heavy. She put it away for a while. She was able to stand on her own 2 feet. She had got her life sort of back on track, or so she thought. And then now here we are fucking again. With having to take responsibility for this thing and keep these people from fucking up and run everything. And you know, with the type A personality she is, not being able to control a thing is also really frustrating for her. So she can't do it alone, but at the same time, she wants to be able to. That's tiring for her. So as he asks her again, either in her head or in her mind's eye, is she okay? She just kind of gives him a very blank and broken look. I honestly don't know anymore. I wish I could tell you. But what am I doing all this for? Those people, yes, I know they depend on me. But do they really? Would they not be okay if I just wiping at her face furiously, holding onto the wheel with the other hand? And I bet you they don't even notice. They don't. They say they care, but then do they really? Fucking Miriam. I get it. Morals. But she keeps forgetting we're fucking monsters. She doesn't want to be a monster. That makes her monstrous among the monsters not wanting to be. Sorry. I can't anymore. Is it nicer where you are?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm not. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? How long are you going to exist in a state of pause and in no instance bypass the discrimination of reason? You have the might of mind and thought. You have been given principles in life and death that you know you are to endorse. And in others, you have endorsed them. What kind of guidance, kind of teacher then, are you still waiting for in order for you to understand your own self? Oh, it's impossible. Any person to learn what they think they already know, which means there's nothing for you to learn. You already know it. You already understand it. You know what is needed. You fight it, hoping for the best, and mitigating and minimizing yourself and making you small. If you are always stooping to deal with those around you, isn't it time to find larger friends, larger associates? If you are always putting your wants and your needs secondary to the concerns of those who you made yourself small for. When you say they are more important than you, when you give away all of the care invested, all of the love extended, when you hide from your greatness, when you shackle your ankles, when you forget that as a member of this community, as a member of the kinship, as a member of the Tremere, and as a founding member of the shelter, that your needs, your wants matter enough to damn everyone else's reason. When you don't give them a plan that does not brook dissent, when you allow their say to overrule your reason, when you tap instead of swat the bug, you allow them to fester, to infect and infest, to eat away at the wood of your being, humble you and ruin the image of you to yourself. No matter what you choose, you are choosing something. No matter whether you act for your own interest or don't act for someone else's, you are engaging. Baby girl, at the end of the day, you get to choose what's important to you. And right now, you are choosing the pain instead of using that energy to inflict the pain of those who need to know and own the responsibility of their actions. It is a choice. It is the only choice. Because the key is to keep company only with those who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best, not those that make you humble yourself, not those that would have you dressed in bedraggled gown, not those who would question your loyalty, your faith, and your drive, not those who would, but actually, there's another way, instead of saying yes and. You have greatness in you. It's up to you to accept it. Watch out for that truck. And the moment that he says that, a U-Haul comes barreling past you. clearly in a rush to get into the grave, despite their intentions of getting wherever it is they're trying to get to. The side mirror knocking yours as it races past.
Lets out a soft growl as she kind of taps the brakes and swerves around it.
The gift in the passenger seat rattles and rocks and threatens to leap out of the seatbelt, holding it firmly in play, but settles still and sits in the seat.
And the tears dry up and she rolls her shoulders and starts trying to think about how best to make what she was just told come to fruition.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus leadership as high as you can? And while that roll is happening, leaving Sophia, where is it that you are tending to aim towards?
Well, I guess the next place on his mind, now that he has something of a direction and an unfortunately obstacle-filled future, he's gonna be trying to head back towards the shelter to hook up with everybody and, well, see how everybody else's night is going for them. Because his certainly went in a direction he did not foresee.
Traveling to Chicago is literally traveling through several different economic tax brackets. The decor, the architecture, the dress of the people, the quality of the vehicles, the upkeep of the streets all change dependent upon the living's tax bracket for their particular area. The funny thing is, as one of the highest tax cities in the US, Chicago has the smallest amount of taxed being returned to whence they originated. And what that means is for instance, the Chicago public school system, which it receives a good portion of its largesse from the tax dollars of the constituents in and around the area where they are collected, redistributes those tax dollars where they see fit. So individuals in Chatham who are paying the same and considerably more larger percentage of their daily income, of their monthly income, of their weekly income, a good portion, far more than you would expect, of their taxed dollars are distributed to areas such as Lincoln Park, Uptown, Montrose Harbor, the Loop, the South Loop, which are miles and considerable number of tax brackets above the average per capita income and salary of those in Chatham. Inglewood, whose average income is considerably below the level of poverty that would demand public assistance. Roughly 60% of their taxed income, earmarked and pointed towards education, ends up in Andersonville, ends up in Grantham, ends up in Winthrop Harbor, ends up elsewhere. Whereas a larger portion of those tax dollars from Lincoln Park and Jefferson Park end up in those particular areas, as well as the redistributed and reallocated funds elsewhere in the city. It's a crazy, nonsensical system. But once you're accustomed to it, you realize that it works. And works at, to create areas that inflate value of the dollar and deflate the value of the environment of where it's collected. Aaron watches, he looks and he understands and he sees the effect of these policies at play. He gets to another desert. He gets home. He gets to Rogers Park. He gets to the shelter.
Yeah. Sometimes the bloodsuckers aren't the only vampires out there.
In the least. In fact, the systems at play that help these individuals maintain their hold generationally are the same systems that the kindred utilize or create. Oftentimes, they don't even guide them, they merely utilize them to their own ends. Which, unfortunately, with his intelligence, with his ability of, and his experience of working with and around the government, he realizes places like shelter, indeed and myth, are a threat to those systems. It is not funded by the city, nor the county, nor the state. It's not even funded by the neighborhood. It is a self-sustaining give back. It is a free of most systems entity, which means there's no leverage to use against it, except for the threat of the police. There's very few checks and balances that can be used against it short of outright direct force. As far as such things go, the truth of the matter is, if directed, if targeted, if focused, the shelter, as it stands, could be a threat to not just the mortal systems of operation, but the kindred ones. They have an inbuilt herd. These poor, discarded, lost individuals that won't be accounted for by anyone or cared for once they're missing. They could be a self-sustaining blood trade all their own. They can literally replenish their crops because there's so many people falling out of the system, being lost. So many people being disappeared in America. So many people being disappeared in the city. There aren't any checks and balances on those that they serve. They don't even have the normal checks and balances of a religion backing them. There's no archdiocese, no council of elders. They are a wild card.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, It's hard enough to navigate the devil you know, let alone all the other things that go bump in the night that are fairly well unknown. Though, with his experience in more clandestine means, historically, the destructive and parasitic nature of it all, not exactly unfamiliar to him. And with that dredging up of old thoughts and older jobs, he kind of gets this, I would call it a vein in the forehead, but he doesn't have a pulse, so you can't really see his blood pressure physically. But as he remembers the security system that he had encountered, the God damn it, I hate cameras thought passes by him as he closes in on the shelter, remembering the little gifts Theo scattered about the area.
Here's the question. As he closes in on the shelter and the thoughts of the past dredge up and potential angle of attack presents itself, did he, on approach or anywhere along the way, tempt the beast to rouse a semblance of living?
Yeah. If you're going to be walking about in public, you don't want to be unblushed.
You don't want to be. And far enough away from everyone, it's not an issue. Minding your business, keeping your head down in bad places with people who do bad things, even as they are amongst and amidst those who don't, well, it has its own benefit. You don't attract attention. People tend to stay away from you. People make up excuses why they don't need to be close enough to press the flesh, pat the shoulder, to ask for money or favor. So is his habit to tempt the beast and rouse?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and play with my numbers here. Oh, I mean, does that technically works, correct?
Yes, technically.
There we go. It works on both of them. Haha. I am doubly lucky.
You are. Tapping into the beast, it does not rear its head. It sits exactly where it is. Well past peckish, nearly hungry. It lets you know as such. The training that you received all those many years ago begins rearing its head. Everyone thinks that we sell lies. No. We don't do that, gentlemen. Everyone thinks that a spy looks like Sean Connery or Roger Moore. No, we don't look like that, gentlemen. Everyone thinks that we are out here living the life of luxury without realizing or understanding that every instance of our lives are spent behind enemy lines, blending in with those who are enemies to our ideals, our perspectives, our perceptions, and smiling in their face. Learning to love them physically and emotionally. becoming their best friends, the person that they call on when they're in trouble, becoming the enemy so that we can unman them at the correct and appropriate times. And we don't do that by lying. The fewer lies we tell, the greater our effect. And our effect, don't ever doubt, is the destruction of every single solitary enemy to this nation. Every single solitary enemy to the ideals of this nation. We bed their women, their husbands, their wives. We become members of their society. We understand them better than they understand themselves, to the end of unmanning them at the appropriate time. Don't get it confused. Many of you come from special operations groups. Some of you come from rank and file. You have this idea in your head that we are here to sacrifice ourselves in the name of our country. No, not at all. We are here to make them sacrifice themselves for their ideals. Because ideals are great and are wonderful, so long as they're ours. We use the truth to let them lie to themselves. We are honest, upstanding members of their community. We live next door to them. We live amongst them. We go to their churches. We go to their bridal barber shops and their hip hop concerts. We sit with them when they are crying. We give reasons to carry on. We adopt their faiths. We are the invisible. And that makes us effective. You can't be invisible when you lie. The body gives it away. You stand out. You begin seeing enemies that aren't real, much less those that are real, do you in. Understand that no one will ever know what you've done for your country. We kill with the truth, gentlemen. And as the memory fades away and you're standing there in front of the shelter, out walks Theo.
Hey, Theo. Rough night?
Theo looks oddly more disheveled than usual. You would actually say that if you didn't know any better, his heart rate would be racing. He looks low-key terrified about something. And he actually didn't see you, and you know, as much of a creeper as he is, he sees everything. But he didn't notice you as he opened the door and walked out. Aaron, I need to talk to you.
Okay.
But not here.
Okay. I'll lead on, I guess.
Have you seen Hess?
No.
That ain't good. All right. Well, I left a note in her office, but come with me. Come with me for a minute. We're gonna go to go to my office.
Sure. Lead on.
Theo walks up to his computer, his rig is set up at, and he starts looking at he starts pulling up the log to see where there's different gaps where certain things were taken off of his certain logs were erased or taken. All right.
He needs to
I don't know
explain it because
exactly.
there doesn't appear to be anything missing.
I'm gonna explain this as best as I can. I don't know how. If I lose you, just kind of tell me I lost you. Okay.
Shoot.
Okay. So from what I could tell, the network has been hacked.
That
I did trace to where the IP of who's looking and watching in our network coming from Washington.
like this state or the we're fucked?
You got any oil, grease, lube, Astroglide?
God damn it, Theo. He says as
Also,
he kind of palms his head.
there's a bunch of cameras out there around where I was setting my cameras up. Those aren't mine.
Which aren't yours? There's a shit ton of cameras out here.
Some of them are mine, and he opens up the different screens so he can see where the cameras are receiving from, so he can kind of get an idea of where those cameras will be. These are mine. There's a lot more out there that's not mine.
Oh, great.
Uh, Third thing. Now, this one is definitely more you than me. I went down to the under area to try to let some rounds off to get some practice in. There are some cool rats down there that's been trained.
Oh, well, that's not as surprising as the other things. I'm honestly like, I'm not as fucked up about that.
Yeah, they tried to eat me.
Oh. Okay, well, that's not good. Did you do anything to
Yeah.
piss him off, or did they just decide now is your time?
Yeah, I walked into the area alone.
Fun.
There's Hestia. Let's go grab her and bring her in. I want to make sure she's on the same page as we are.
Yeah, go get her.
All right, I'll be right back. Oh, by the way, I don't know if this is helpful, but until we get this worked out, I don't know if Blush of Life might be helpful, but it might be.
Okay, then keep that shit going.
Just trying to throw it out there. I don't know how helpful it is, though. He runs out to go grab Hestia. Before getting to where the cameras are, he stays inside so he's out of the range of cameras. And when he just kind of intercepts her, Hestia, can I borrow you for a second?
Kind of looks up at him. Mostly she had wiped away all the tears, but her eyes were still kind of red, and her face looks like a little bit wet. Is it important?
Depends on the side of the fence that you're looking at. But I really think I
It's a
need to get
yes
this
or
off my
no
chest.
question, Theo. Fuck my life. Okay, come on, let's go. Where are we going?
Back to my office. He takes her back to the office. So make sure that no one's around because the area, hopefully, he's hoping is clean. All right. So remember when I was just setting up cameras around the area? that we can have an early warning system in case we were attacked physically?
No, I don't remember that because we already had cameras, and I told you we already had cameras. So what?
Okay, let me start the other way. Okay, let me start the other way. Okay, so I went downstairs to where I believe that the security guy that you had before me, had set up downstairs so that I could let some rounds off. Are you aware that there's cooled rats down there?
He squints at him again. You went to do what? In my what?
From the information that I pulled from when you were running with Simone, Whispers, and the rest of them, there's an under area down there where no one's down there. So I was gonna go down there to let some rounds off. No one would be able to hear me. There's cool rats down there. There's a whole colony down there, and they try to eat me. Uh, Hold on. Give me a second. He looks at the screen to see the ping. Uh, what is it that he's looking at?
Presently, nothing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
unfortunately, while you went to attract Heston's attention, you know that your cameras are far enough out that they shouldn't be that sensitive to pick up on your state of existence. Yet Aaron watched as they in fact were.
Mm.
You pinged, Hestia pinged on your way back into the shelter.
Hey,
Well, if he doesn't tell me, I won't know that.
yeah, hey Theo,
Yeah?
what kind of system you got set up here? When you guys came back in, it pinged on you. Do you have this keyed in to cold bodies?
I do, but I don't have it near the shelter. I have it around the shelter, but I don't have it in the shelter yet.
Are you out of your
Okay, well,
ever-loving fucking mind? We're vampires. We're called by
Y-
nature. And
Yeah.
oh, Lord.
I don't think that's the
I
I don't
don't
think
have
that's the
the
biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is that he doesn't remember setting anything up inside, and I just got a
I
ping from
didn't.
the inside.
That was the second thing I was coming to. I haven't gotten there yet. The ghoul rats down there tried to eat me. I don't know about what they are, who they are, but it's down there. We need to go exterminate them or find out who controls them. Second thing, the wireless network that I have around the shelter is supposed to be about 2 blocks of radius. There's cameras there that I didn't put up, and I pinged the address to the IP where whoever has been pulling into and out of my network, pulling files, is coming from Washington.
Yeah, like the
That's the
Washington.
problem.
Yeah.
I didn't set them up like that.
I
They're
know you
obviously
didn't,
these
but
are just
okay. I am not tech savvy, fairly in the least, maybe a little bit. But even I saw through putting a open wireless system of cameras around a place and setting them for cold bodies. Did you not think that one through? Like, I know you were both saying that there were already cameras set up, already looking for that sort of information, and that's fucked, and we're gonna have to fix that. But at the same time, you're adding to that and giving them easier ways into the back door. It's basically saying, hey, I'm going on vacation. The key is under the mat. Really? That's what the
it
fuck
was
we're doing now?
only
And
supposed
as
to
far
just
as for
ping.
the rats, we made a deal with them, so you just went into their territory. The thing about the whole other side of the building that we barely use is it's full of booby traps to keep idiots like you from walking around the building when we're not here. If you don't know where the traps are, that's the good part. And then anything that falls in the traps
Oh,
is
you know
fed
what?
on by the rats. So,
I wish you had told me that. I did not know.
because I didn't expect you to go traipsing
So,
around the fucking building without anybody.
really? Really? You didn't expect me to go creeping around the building? Really? Are we doing it? Really?
So now I guess I have to give you a fucking map. But Simone set up the traps when we were first putting the building together to keep people from just randomly waltzing through into our haven before I could set up the wards. Because the thing is, wards need to be refreshed every once in a while. And do you know how much fucking blood it takes to refresh the wards around a place this fucking size? My body doesn't have enough blood
Okay,
most of the time for that shit.
well, there's a wooden spear down there that could collect a lot of blood in a very short amount of time.
Okay, we're getting off topic. There are federal agents watching this fucking building. How do we stop this?
I could
My
make some
first instinct
calls,
is
but
just to rip
they're
all the cameras down, except for the ones that are hardwired into the building. But at the same time, I have a feeling that that wouldn't work right now. Now, would it?
I'm all about just ripping them all down. I don't really know if it's settled into to your heads quite yet. I spoken much about my history?
Aaron, I can't
no.
not have cameras for insurance reasons because there are people that are classified as dangerous in this building. If I don't have cameras and something happens, I could lose this building so fucking quick, and I barely keep it as it is. So things that they can't hack would be great. I'm all for keeping fucking things that they can't hack into and getting rid of everything that they can, but I have to at least
You
have
do that.
some sort of security and safety.
Fine, but Theo's got to run all the wires.
I could do that. I can make a closed circuit network here where it's not hackable. That'd be that I could do.
No, my
The
biggest
wireless will take away our range, though. That's the biggest problem.
I don't give a flying fuck about the range at this point in time. Like I understand the attempt and the intentions, and by all means, bless you for the thoughts. But you just accidentally stumbled onto and reinforced fucking high up government shit.
I also want to point out one more fucking thing.
Oh, holy shit. Get
Oh,
ready.
hold on.
No. The fact that we
Unfinished.
have this going on and it's
He pulls
out
his
for
revolver.
2 weeks or 2 blocks, other kindred will find out that we have this in place and will come for us. There is that problem as well.
Hey, Hess, bigger issues now, he says as he just, looks out towards the doorway. Something just pissed the camera off.
Unseen passage, ghost in the shell.
What?
Nothing.
I'm gonna throw up since the unseen.
Yeah, ditto.
You all wish you didn't. Because as far as you know, and as far as you can prove, as far as you've all experienced, Nosferatu, even with their masterful skill of seeming invisible, aren't actually invisible, which means cameras are their downfall. save the fact as you all are peering at the cameras, as you're looking from screen to screen, as an invisible little tracking square denoting motion pings across several of them as they're moving. You all tap into that otherworldly energy at the heart of your existence. You tap into the senses of the beast. You tap into that very dead energy that makes your corpses ambulatory. In the doing, as if you are able to see for the first time the electromagnetic spectrum cast off by the electricity pouring the monitor, as you're able to see the ebb and flow of energy moving in and around the monitor, and you sit there at the screen, you wish that you didn't. Not because you all have extraordinarily sensitive stomachs. You've all been dead long enough to be accustomed to the idea of the Nosferatu. No matter how many times you all brace yourself, there's always one or two that just cause the ever-loving sense of all that is good in you to drain. Thus is your senses of self when you watch as the materialized version of Rowan and Crook scoot across your screen, closing in on the shelter. Rowan is, by every stretch of the word, grotesquely malformed, limbs large enough to make it believable that there could be a giant throwing spells around. Grotesquerie, a misshapen size of their limbs only magnified by the horribly malfigured formation of their face. Cavemen or Neanderthal, as most people envision them. Nothing on her exposed and elongated, furrowed brow. It looks as if someone found a way to cause bone to swell with water weight. There are soft spots in their cranium that shouldn't be soft spots. There are places that should be soft that are not. When they close their eyes in close proximity, you can hear as like two surprisingly large stones smacking each other. So every time they blink, there's a stone on stone click, 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 click. Their lips about 2.5 times larger than is necessary in terms of plumpness and turgidity. Swollen with all of the stolen blood, even if they are completely starving and ravenous. And then there's their pallor. Sort of thing that happens if you beat and bruise a porcine member of mammalia and leave it in the sun, rotting, swelling, the gases causing the stomach to distend and bloat in places. Bruises from those gases appearing across the skin, and that's the pallor of their skin. Beaming texture of their skin as well. Strange sprouts of hair here and there, and the fact that their ears don't have lobes. There's nothing protruding from either side of their head where their ears should be. Instead, there's these huge maws that you can see the lack of movement of the living tissue beneath, because there is no living tissue beneath. But where there should be soft things moving and beating with the vibrancy of their pulse, there's nothing. And that stirs a wrongness in you when you see it up close and personal. You all know they don't have a scent. But every time they're close enough, feel their breath when they push it in an attempt to seem human, there's this stench. It feels like you're trapped in your own body, moldering beneath some great body of water, and are denied access into the afterlife. They smell like cold, a slimy, wet death. And yet you're sure they don't actually have a scent. You all don't have the bacteria necessary to generate scent. And yet, each of you in your own time remember a moment when you were close enough to feel that crawl across the wet spots of your mind. Part that sucks more. The part that really, really drives it home. They are coming for you. There's no other reason for them to be near you. They don't frequent this area. As far as you are aware, this is solely Juanita's unofficial and official area as a member of Mian's hounds. So Rowan being anywhere near this place and Crook being in company with Rowan bodes ill, especially being as there is another unseen pain. And even with your vision focused as it is on otherworldly energy, there is nothing there.
Hey, Hess, you know how I was saying that painted lady was kind of trying to stab us all in the ass?
Yeah, I'm aware. And then, as storyteller, knowing what I know about Wineka and other Nosferatu, if I sent him a ping to, hey, your cousins are over my way unexpectedly, would that be a good or a bad?
It could work out in your benefit if and when he receives it, if he has access to his phone. Because normally, remember, he leaves his phone with his good, upstanding, loyal ghoul, Mike. And Mike has been willing to die for the shelter. Nika's displeasure.
But then there's the problem: if I put Mike in danger, Wineka's going to be mad at me.
Yeah, but he's immortal. He'll get over it, right?
Oh no, we know he is a fucking psycho and that he does not get over it.
Hey, Theo, get ready with whatever it is you've got, okay? I'm getting the very, very strong impression this is not a fun house call. I'll get on this side of the door, you get on that one.
Without saying anything, he moves to where he was instructed to by Aaron.
He just kind of locks eyes with him. No holding back. No taking prisoners. None of that pussy ass no hurting people shit, okay?
He draws his pistol. And there's
Can't
a
we go with the
darkness
quieter
that's
method?
not normally present there.
There is a quieter method. He gestures with his 38. This here is suppressed. I don't know what the fuck he, Theo, how well do you work with, tools rather than guns? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no.
Give me a knife.
Do you work well with knives?
I'm as proficient with a knife as I am with a gun.
Yeah, then we're gonna go the knife route this time around.
Okay.
Hess pulls two of the sheath knives out of her wristlets and hands them over to Theo. I want those back if possible. If not, I got more. And then she pulls her own spelled knife out of the pocket she keeps it in her jacket.
Okay.
All right. So here's what I need from you all. Based on your present stances and where you all are, what would you all be so kind as to, in your own time, roll your dexterity plus melee as high as you possibly can?
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Would this be a good storyteller? Would this be a good time to rouse the blood for my dexterity?
If you think so.
I think that might be a good idea. I think that might be a good idea. So is it just rouse, /rouse?
You make your roll with your +2, yes.
Yeah, roll first, then worry about that. Oof, I'm gonna have to eat one of these fuckers.
Got it. All right. You said dexterity or melee, right?
Also, Theo, he said rouse after you make your roll.
Like I said, do it first.
No,
No, I
said
didn't.
do it.
Not at any time.
All right, so roll first and then rouse.
I mean, you've already
But
roused.
do I add the dice?
Yeah, you had the dice. The reason he says that is because the hunger that is added from the rouse does not apply like to that roll. It applies to future rolls. At least that's my understanding.
Fair enough.
Correct.
Oh, you motherfucker, you better use that willpower. Much better.
Already did.
Thank you, Boo Boo. I was gonna be like, God
Now
damn it,
roll.
we can't have two Hestias in this bitch.
Now rouse, right?
No,
You
it's
already
good.
roused.
Yeah, it's good. You already roused.
Okay.
Hey, I'm short. Don't be messing with me.
Hey, it's all right. Look, there's a reason why he asked Theo to get on the other side of the door. He already knew. He may be a very old soul, and there might be some of that, misogyny in there, but it's proving itself correct, at least in this combat.
12 and 7 is 19 dice. Look at that. You
Oh,
are
no.
phenomenal. You guys are absolutely outstanding. You are just the absolute A-team.
I don't know about that. I feel like B is probably our nice setting.
I
No,
don't think
C.
it's C plus, maybe.
No, I don't think C is very much lowering ourselves. B is a nice happy middle ground. B minus at best.
Well, the plus is because you are an operator. Theo
Was.
isn't. So while he's good, he's not that good. Holy fuck.
Ha 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 ha! Fuck you,
Holy fuck.
misbegotten malformities!
And understanding that in tense situations,
Coming for help.
the worst thing to rely on is the impressions of the witnesses that might have seen or been present when whatever it was went sideways. Mind is able to absorb a terabyte of information in the blink of an eye. However, it doesn't give up its secrets. Your eyes, your nose, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch, all of those centers of awareness are forcing information into the mind, collecting every single crumb of data. However, it's happening at such a rate that the mind, to protect your sense of self and who you believe yourself to be, will muddy it up, will blur it up, will slow it down till it makes sense. It will base it off of your emotional state. It will turn something that was blue into something that was red or orange, brown, or just, I can't remember, something dark. Which is the reason why you'll always hear, oh my God, I'm not sure exactly what happened. Everything happened so fast. That's not entirely true. It's always honest. But in moments of tension, in moments of stress, the human mind floods with all sorts of information and all sorts of endorphins and all sorts of chemicals produced by the body. So all of that information that is absorbed, that is intuited and reacted to, is a muddy, blurry mess because it's all happening too fast, too slow, too loud. It's just too much. While mankind always lives in a state of blissful ignorance to how much they play tricks on themselves, be it the dissonance between what's seen, what's heard, much closer than or farther than 30 feet or so. Because at that point, at 30 feet, what you see and what you hear hits your mind at the same time. And at that distance, everything is actually matched up. Farther away from that distance, you'll see it before you hear it. Closer than that distance, and you'll hear it before you see it. But your mind puts all of that information together so it seems as if you are living in whatever reality you choose. And the same thing happens with the kindred. So as the horde of three Nosferatu, snarling and angry and crying in pain and coming for help, are attacked and besieged, they begin defending themselves, as is natural. And it's over before it begins. The Nosferatu dropped, fighting with all they have. There's nothing like being hit by something that can punch through several inches of steel, trying to fight for his life. It's beast and the natural bias of the hideous, causing you all to strike with deathly intent, mortal aim. And once attacked, like all beings with a sense of self and self-preservation, they respond in kind, yelling and screaming, "Stop! Stop! Fucking die! Oh, you don't!" And before you know it, the battle's over. The smoke is settled. The bodies are laid. And you all stand victorious over the monstrous kindred who came for whatever.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry, Hess. Apparently these Nosferatu were coming for help, and they just so happened to forget that walking in on somebody's house invisible is a great way to trigger the Vietnam War veteran response.
That did not go well for them.
No. So you
And
said
with the opposite of
are they true dead or are they torpid dead?
No, they got promoted.
They are. Could you honestly tell the difference?
Not really. Not with the. Actually, if you're torpid, as far as I'm aware, you turn into something like a desiccated husk. But if you true die, you just straight up like fucking. Depending on how old you are, you get fucked up.
Do you know how old they are?
No. No, I don't.
Give them mouth to mouth.
Shut the fuck up. As he's just standing there huffing a little bit, forgetting that for the umpteenth time that he doesn't actually need his breath. He ejects the cylinder of his revolver and puts it back into his coat pocket after guaranteeing what he's got left. Pockets his blackjack as well and looks over to Hess. What you want to do with these? I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit lost in the haze there, and I may have misheard. But I'm pretty sure they were calling for help. I don't know if that was from us, or if they've got something else prowling about out there, but either way, I'm gonna keep my head on a swivel. You two figure out what you want to do with them.
This is checking to see if they are true dead or just torpid.
How would she do that?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember how she would be able to tell, because she was able to tell the difference with Theo. But
Theo, the semi almost normal looking member of your coterie that even despite yourself you've grown some emotional attachment to?
No, not that one. The other one.
Or the grotesque body of things that are clearly dead the moment you cast eyes on them? Because, be perfectly honest, most Nosferatu are in fact masquerade breaches. The best you can hope for is someone who's been horribly scarred or disfigured, which causes people to look away and tell little children not to say anything about them, or they try to go out of their way. Oh no, it doesn't bother me. It's perfectly fine that you're missing your nose and have your eye. How are you missing only half? I mean, it's fine. Like you're cool with me, buddy. I don't have preconceived notions about you being evil based on you being repulsive to look at. I mean, not that you're repulsive to look at. For you, it's character. It's oh my God, it's hideous. I mean, it's not like you don't know that you're hideous, right? Okay. Wait, I shouldn't say that. It's not that you're hideous. It's you're intriguing to look at. If I could stomach looking at you. I mean, you're just
Yeah, vent that, Nobu. All them players out there that think that they could just sidestep Nosferatu being a walking war crime.
Theo takes the knives, gives them back to Hester. Hester, where do you think I can find some good knives?
Here's the worst thing is, as you two come down from the combat high, as you three come down from the combat high, when you slice up a person, the blood cools, but not right away. It's still warmer than you would expect when you begin cleaning off your knife and your blade from slicing a living person or a living thing. There's a discernible change in the temperature of the metal, especially if you use it in an actual, even slightly prolonged combat. Not these now. So whereas the ichor and juice that would normally cause the blade to have a heat, a warmth, would make it strangely palatable. The coolness of the vitae staining the blade. It's still being lit and strangely thick to the feel only adds to the mentally disheartening aspect of whatever this is. Vitae is cool, viscous. It has a presence all its own that still triggers the need to feed, even as the normally suspected ironing tang of a beautifully unctuous human portion of go juice is still being triggered. There's something alarming about seeing this much vitae. There's something nettling the back of your mind as your beast begins to stir. You know what? You don't need a rag. You can use your tongue to clean that blade. You could use the energy out, bro. We all could use energy. It's been a tough time. You don't want to end up down by the river living in a van. Lick the blade.
Actually, a question for you. Is there like a way you could possibly use their blood to see if these guys are still alive?
So you want me to like stick my finger in a hole and like put it to my mouth and see if it tastes like they're still alive?
Mm. You see,
Well, I mean, do you, man? Do you? But, I was just asking.
yeah, all that red being stained all over the floor is exactly why I'm standing over here. He says, a nice 20, 25 feet away.
I'm kind
Speaking of
of
which,
Stop
That's a good
saying
question.
this.
If they are well and
Just
truly
help to
dead,
clean it up.
what?
You can help them clean it up. You can lick that clean. You can get just enough juice to not be shaking. Look at your fingers. They're twisted. You should do it.
Ah, shut up! He says he starts smacking the side of his head. I'll be back in a minute. He walks away another 10, 20 feet.
Where are you going? It's really damn. You know what?
but that was my question. Like, would their blood taste different if they were well and truly dead, or would it still taste like vampire blood?
It would still taste like vitae until they either dust, decompose, slip away, and it's all based on their individual age, how quickly that happens.
Just out of
Somebody have
experimentation,
to bite the bullet.
I put one of their wrists in the other one's mouth and open it further just to see what'll happen.
Mm. Well, fuck.
Why don't you put the other one in the other's mouth so we can close the circuit?
Vampire 69ing, totally not going to result in terrible things. Ah, you prick! Ah, you prick! What's my diff here? 4, right?
3.
Oh, lucky, lucky! Woo, baby!
As you begin manipulating the corpses of those Nosferatu, and Theo slaps the side of, Aaron slaps the side of his head and moves further apace and further away from that pile of growing redness, that vitae leaking out onto the floor. You've all been at the zoo when the tiger pacing stops pacing. And the tiger, who has nothing else to do but pace or sleep, is doing neither. When the tiger turns and cants its head, watching the movement of the people just outside bars. And for those of you who watch the cat with all those predatory instincts begin watching you, and its stillness begins to fall over you, and you realize that it's lowering its body towards the ground, its eyes still focused on you. You know and watch as the tiger does the complex computations, judging the distance of the gorge between where it settled in the grass and the railing that is the only thing keeping you all from being lunch. 75 feet times 3 plus 2. If I leap at just the last minute, will I be able to? Yeah, I should be able to. Are they worth it? No, they're just a morsel. The steak is coming at 3, but no, technically I could with a running start. And you realize that it's doing that math to get to you is the face that is happening with Aaron as he's holding himself almost rigidly statue-like still. For you, Esther, and for you, Theo, you too, unlike the Nosferatu at your feet, are still very much on the menu. Your vibrancy, your motion, your movement is very much the thing that is keeping the tiger fixated as he does the math necessary to cover the distance. You all look from the Nosferatu to Aaron to each other. After the hour, and I want to thank you all for a lovely episode.
You fools! You let kindred blood around a Banu Hakim. Oh, alright. So, that's a great fucky wucky.